Mhm. You have described Donald Trump to be psychologically unstable. There are others who believe that he deliberately plays to a sort of caricatured version of himself, and there is a method to his madness. What do you believe is Trump's end goal? If you look at American law, he can only be there for another two years. Um, do you believe that the country has changed? Uh, sort of irrevocably after the Trump tenure, and it is going to be difficult for India to negotiate with a post-Trump America as well. What is Trump's end goal? What is Trump trying to do here?
I do believe that Trump's characteristic is not just showmanship, but impulsivity and a megalomania. I don't think this is all posturing. If it is, he's the greatest actor in the world. Uh, and I don't think so from what we know. I think he is an extraordinarily short-term person with a very short attention span. And the basic idea is, to my mind, we behave well because we want to maintain a reputation that we're trustworthy, that we're responsible people, that we can enter into cooperative relations with others. Trump does not have that future orientation, in my view. Trump's orientation is maximize whatever can be extracted at every moment. And that leads to a collapse of any kind of trust, and it leads to the potential of an escalation of uh, conflict and disaster. And I think that that is Trump's real characteristic. I mean, how else could one explain the punitive sanctions on India other than an extraordinary short-term uh, uh, mental model? The damage that has been done is absolutely real. Indians are waking up for the first time to saying, "Whoa, this is weird. This is not trustworthy. This is something we have to reconsider." But it's precisely Trump's characteristic that he doesn't think about that part. He wants to do something right now with India, whether it's to stop India from buying Russian oil or make concessions in some other way or go along with some military arrangement or whatever it is. And that, I think, is why I say that this is not psychologically normal. It's not tactical, uh, and it's certainly not beneficial for U.S. security or for the world. At the same time, I've been very unhappy with every modern American presidency. So this is not something particular to Trump, although he's really extraordinary. But Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, think of Obama, very nice person, very smart. But he put the CIA into overthrowing Assad in Syria. He launched the attack of NATO on Muammar Gaddafi. He oversaw the overthrow or the U.S. role in the overthrow of Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine in February 2014. So there's a nice man, and he is a nice man, uh, presiding over the similar kinds of operations because we have a deep state, we have a CIA that is the real instrument of long-term strategy. And these are long-term playbooks. And part of the long-term playbook, for example, is that the great threat to America is China, and India should be on our side. And so that's the Quad idea, which I find absurd from India's point of view. India is too great a country to be in the US playbook. India needs its own playbook, and it should not be overt hostility in an alliance against a giant neighbor. It should be using the BRICS to solve the bilateral problems in a multilateral framework, not games by the United States. So I think that we have a structural issue here, which is very deep, We have a particular issue here with Trump, but things are not going to go back to, quote, normal, because normal wasn't very good. Our political system is broken in many ways. The inequalities in America are huge and rising still. The corruption of our political system is enormous because it's a pay to play political system. And the secret state has been there since 1947, but getting worse, not getting better.
I was going to ask in the end about the Quad, so let's end with that question. Um, the Quad, I think Trump, in his first tenure, would have liked it to be a military alliance. India does not do alliances. But over time, through the Biden years and now Trump's second term, the Quad is seen to be a sort of countervailing force to China without being an alliance. You are arguing that India should not be in the Quad, is from what I understand.
Yes.
Um, so let my last question be on India and China. To those in India who would say there is a border conflict or disagreement at the very least with China, there is a sense that China is a patron of an adversarial nation like Pakistan, that China is also invested in some of the other immediate countries in our neighborhood, and therefore India can't trust China. So, how do we mend relations with China? You would say what? And do you actually think India should walk out of the Quad?
I do think India should not be part of the Quad because India should not be part of a group that is explicitly and overtly anti-China. India should be finding ways to address the challenges of China. If you actually go back to the border disputes, which are serious, of course, because they've led to war, uh, they originate in lines drawn on maps by the British, such as the McMahon Line drawn in 1914. The British left lots of mischief in this world. This should be what two absolutely great countries and civilizations and superpowers overcome is Mr. McMahon, who was a middle level military official in 1914 uh, with a long story, but not one that should be determining the fate of the relations between the two greatest nations in the world in the 21st century that constitute almost 40% of humanity. I want China to support India in the UN Security Council. For me, that's a litmus test also. I want to say to China, as I do all the time, your interest is a strong India. It is not India as a foe, but India as a strong, developed partner and a trading partner and a technology partner and a security partner in the context of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and so on. So I would like both countries to put aside the hostilities and the idea that there is an irreparable harm to go back to the origins, which is Britain, in fact, and the U.S. continues to try the same playbook, and to say we can do better than this. I regard the BRICS as a real opportunity. I very much like the BRICS because the BRICS are saying to the Western world, your Western led imperialism is over. We are half the world population, and with the partners more than that. And we want a multilateral world. And no, Mr. Miller, the deputy chief of staff of Mr. Trump, you are wrong. The world is not run by power or by power alone. The world is run by principle, and we stand for principles. So, to my mind, when I'm asked every day, will this mean, Trump's behavior mean that Russia will grab what it wants and China will grab what it wants? I hope the answer is exactly the opposite, that the other superpowers of the world say this is not the world we want and it's not the world we're going to make, and that the BRICS puts forward positive solutions. One of them, by the way, that I would really urge, I would like a very large UN campus in India and a very large UN campus in China. One of the reasons is the United States may well announce one day we're out of the UN. Just this week, the United States walked out of 31 UN organizations. The US has gone out of its way in the last 2 weeks to ridicule the United Nations. I don't know whether the U.S. will stay in the UN, even though it was a brainchild of the United States. But I would like India and China to say, no, this is real. This is 96% of us in the world believe in the UN Charter, and we're going to have a major presence of the UN in our two countries as well, because this is a global institution, not just an institution on the east side of New York City. So this, I think, is also part of what I would do. Find the positive agenda, really press for UN Security Council membership. I'm going to do my bit also, but resolve these old issues in an amicable way, because the real issues that China and India face of economy, of trade, of technology, of safety, of climate change are huge common interests. And the United States should not be allowed to continue the divide and conquer strategy.